Let's get to the Jersey Central Newsmaker Hotline. The regular season for the pro football season has come to an end, and now it's on to the playoffs. And we'll do a recap, our final regular season recap now, with the general manager of Ray Catena Mercedes-Benz in Edison. And, of course, the WCTC Pro Football Pick'em Challenge will continue through the playoffs. But let's welcome Doug Wells back to WCTC. Doug, good morning and Happy New Year to you, my friend. How you doing?
Good morning. How are you? And Happy New Year to you and all the listeners.
Thank you so much. We'll recap our Week 17 picks in a moment there, Doug. But first of all, what's the car you're starting out your new year driving? And after that, I have a question for you about model years that you could probably answer. But what are you driving today?
Today I'm in a 2019 E300 four-wheel drive sedan. And it's one of our staples. It's just an incredible driving car. It's a four-cylinder twin turbo that's incredible amount of power, great gas mileage, and just one smooth driving car.
Sounds great. And a nice day like today, it's nice to be driving around in that's for sure. But and Doug, when it comes to model years, maybe you could answer something I always thought about, because I know that a 2019 car, you don't have to wait until 2019 to be able to buy one. When do you start seeing when did you start to see the 2019 cars become available on your lot? It was earlier in 2018, right?
So earlier in 18, normally it normally starts around end of summer, beginning of fall.
Mm-hmm.
For example, we have our 2020 totally redesigned GLE is coming out in March.
Wow.
So so March of 19 we'll have a 2020 model. That happens once in a while with any brand, and a lot of it has to do with when they design a car, they have to have it certified by the government, and depending on how many months or this scenario, they'll just make it come out earlier because you don't want to have too short of a run on a particular model year car.
I see. Okay, so I got a feeling who's going to take that first 2020 model out for a little spin. I got a feeling I know who that guy is.
Yeah, I have a feeling you're right.
Well, you got to try it out for quality purposes, of course, right? You have to take it for a few laps up and down Route 1, of course.
I do. Plus, a lot of people are going to want to see it.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure they will. I got to check that out myself. But I guess the bottom line, though, even though it's 2019, you got a lot of 2018s that are there, and there's still great deals, and there's still a lot to choose from, right?
Oh, great deals and just great cars, and also our certified pre-owned program is through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
Great interest rates. You're getting an incredible automobile for people that want to buy a car and don't want to spend the money on a new car. This is a great opportunity. And one of my customers taught me a long time ago that these aren't pre-owned, and I argued with her, and then she looked at me and she goes, "Doug, your cars are pre-loved." And I said, I love it.
What a compliment that is. Yeah, that's true. So this is a great time to get Ray Catena Mercedes-Benz Route 1 in Edison. A lot to choose from and lots happening there, so make sure you stop on in. Congratulations to Tim from Old Bridge, who was the Week 17 winner with his picks. He was 14 out of 16. Congratulations to him. And I managed to beat Doug Wells by just one pick this week. I was 12 out of 16, and Doug was 11 out of 16. I'm still about 12 or 13 games behind, and probably not a lot of playoff games still to go, so I think it's just a matter of time before Doug will clinch the victory. Doug, our WCTC leader currently is somebody from Pennsylvania, so I'm hoping maybe they'll just want to go for a Philly cheesesteak or an Amish smorgasbord or something. That'll be a little bit lighter on my wallet. We'll have to see what happens.
Well, I hope you're listening to me, and I keep saying, let's go to Steak 85.
I know. Let's see. Well, I don't have a feeling we're going to wind up there anyway, but we'll see what happens once we get to the postseason. But let's recap the final week of the regular season. Detroit at Green Bay. Detroit goes to Green Bay and beats the Packers. Aaron Rodgers did not play in that game, Doug, and you got a feeling that the Packers just kind of mailed it in and said, see you next year. Aaron Rodgers, this isn't the end for Aaron Rodgers, is it? He's going to come back and have a good year next year?
I would say so. I mean, remember, he just signed that contract that made him the highest paid player in the NFL. So that's not somebody who's packing it in.
No, you're right. Okay. Well, they need some people to throw the ball, get him to throw the ball to, and maybe they'll turn around. I mean, this was not your typical Green Bay Packer season. For them to go 6-9-1 is really unheard of. But they'll be back in the next year. That's for sure. Jacksonville, the Cat team, they took the loss at Houston, playoff-bound Houston Texans. I think you had Houston in that game, Doug, last week, right?
I did.
All right. New England, no problem with the Jets. I think we both know that was going to be the last game for Todd Bowles. You surprised at all at his firing after the loss to the Patriots on Sunday?
No, you knew 4 weeks ago. You knew that was coming. So it's just, I guess the Jets figured you might as well not shake up the apple cart until the season's over.
Yeah, and interesting, they kept the GM. They said the new coach is going to answer to the team president. We'll see how long that lasts. What do they need? They need an offensive guy to work with Sam Darnold. Do they need somebody that is good on both sides of the ball? What will save the Jets, Doug? Is there anything that can save my beloved Jets?
I think the biggest thing that they really need is they need this buddy stand for a certain type of a character.
Yeah.
And break the character that has been the history of the team.
Right.
And I don't think that's that hard of a job for them to do, because I think a lot of those players really, that's what they want. They want somebody that's really going to put their foot down and create a big giant backbone for the team.
Yeah, maybe a Tom Coughlin type disciplinarian, a tough guy needs to come in and whip the Jets into shape. Maybe somebody like him. I don't know.
You're 100% correct, and I'm telling you, they have a lot of talent on that team.
Yes, and after next year, they're going to have a lot of money to spend, too, so they can bring in some good people. And maybe it's one of the more attractive job openings right now, Doug. Who knows?
I would think so.
We'll see. But you got to play Tom Brady twice a year, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. Carolina, a Cat team gets a win. They go to New Orleans and beat the Saints. Drew Brees did not play in that game, Doug. And people are like, oh, they lost their last game. This is going to be bad. You have to remember, the year the Saints won the Super Bowl, they lost their last 3 regular season games and still ended up going all the way. You still feel New Orleans is still the team to beat this year?
Yeah, I still think that they're the team to beat.
Okay.
I think their defense is too good. And again, the 2 of my losses are on games that they didn't pull the quarterback until if I had known the quarterback wasn't playing on either one of those games,
right.
I would have picked the opposite team.
Right. It's like one of these things you don't know who's going to play on game day there. But Dallas, who could have very easily sat Prescott, they played a great game. Maybe the catch of the year for the winning touchdown in Dallas, and really a meaningless game. They couldn't move up, they couldn't move down. They just wanted to win the game. 36-35 win over the Giants. I had Dallas in. Did you pick the Giants, Doug, or did you have Dallas in that one?
I had the Giants, and I told you the Giants were going to play really well, which they did.
They did, yeah.
And they almost squeaked it out.
Yeah, they did. That was and that catch at the end there was absolutely spectacular. But Dallas is now headed to the playoffs, and we'll talk about them tomorrow when we do our preview. Buffalo season finale. That's that quarterback that Buffalo has. Watch him, Doug. He could be a guy that's going to be a great player for many years. They beat the Dolphins, your Dolphins in Buffalo, and then the Dolphins fire their coach after the game. What kind of coach do the Dolphins need to kind of get things fixed there in South Florida?
The Dolphins, they need that's another team that has a discipline problem. And I think I remember when Don Shula was there years and years ago, that team was a very disciplined team.
Very buttoned up. Bob Greasy, a very buttoned up team with a great success too, right? Maybe that's what they need.
So you got to remember, a lot of these teams, if you take a look at how they win or how they lose, it's not by a lot, So you're talking about the teams that are in the best condition, the teams that understand the plays the best, the teams that the players play the plays 100% of the time, all the time. Because you could spot when somebody's playing the game. You could tell when a receiver is not knows it's going to be a running play. You could see the way some receivers react versus the way really good receivers react. Really good receivers take off like there's no tomorrow all the time. They don't that I know the ball's not coming to me, and give a tell to the linebackers.
Yeah, you're right. A good receiver will sell every play. You're right, and pretend that they're getting the ball every play. You're right. Maybe that's what they need.
And that's the difference between the teams that win and the teams that don't.
You're right. And look how many games, week in and week out, Doug, are decided by like one score. And sometimes it's little plays like that make the difference. So we'll see. It's going to be an interesting offseason. The other picks, Tampa Bay losing a last-minute field goal win there for the Atlanta Falcons. 34-32 was the final there. Philadelphia, boy, that was pressure. They had to win their game in Washington and then hope that the Vikings lost, and both went their way. Philadelphia with the shutout in Washington. I think we both had the Eagles in that game, Doug?
We both had the Eagles on that game.
I think so, yeah. Rams, no problem over San Francisco. They're headed to the playoffs. Seattle squeaks by Arizona. The Cardinals, after 1 year, firing their brand-new coach, which I was kind of surprised at that. But Seattle wins that game. Baltimore with a win and you're in scenario. They held up their end of the deal. Very, very close game against the Cleveland Browns, 26-24. Pittsburgh beating Cincinnati. They did their job. They finished 9-6-1. Hard to believe it was a tie in Week 1 against the Cleveland Browns that kept the Steelers out of the playoffs this year. But they beat Cincinnati in the season finale. Kansas City, no problem with the Oakland Raiders, 35-3. I'm waiting for Kansas City to fold sometime in January, Doug. Is Kansas City as good as people say?
I think they are, and I'm telling you, you want to talk about attitude and discipline?
Mm-hmm.
You look at that young quarterback. I mean, he is a hustler. He works his ass off. When you hear he's a really, really good leader off the field and on the field. I mean, that's the epitome of what you want to see in a football player.
50 touchdowns with Andy Reid. They have home field throughout. If they win their first game, they're probably going to get the Patriots.
And 5,000 yards.
Yeah, they're probably going to get the Patriots on their field, in their stadium for the AFC title game, which is, and if you're going to play the Patriots, you want them on your field. So this could be the time for Kansas City. They got to put 2 wins together, and they'll be in the Super Bowl. Let's see if they can do it. Minnesota, they folded like a house of cards, their season finale. I had Minnesota winning the game and going to the playoffs. They didn't show up against the Bears, Doug. What happened there? I think you had Chicago in that game.
I think Chicago's defense is too good, and as the game went on, they seemed to, the team, for what I saw in the game, they stopped doing certain fundamentals and they started like they were in panic mode. And when you play scared or in a panic mode, you tend to make mistakes and you always lose games.
We always see that in sports. When you play a team that's is in a must-win situation, you're right. They just play tense. They just don't think. They just, I don't know what it is. And Minnesota, you would think, would know better, but they lost, and now they're not going back to the postseason. The other 2 games on Sunday, Chargers win at Denver. Denver fires their coach after a 6-10 season. Chargers at 12-4 are a wild card. Take that. I mean, how do you go 12-4 and you don't even get a home playoff game? But they are headed to the postseason. And the Sunday night game, which was a win and you're in for the last playoff spot in the AFC. Boy, that Colts team, Doug, I don't know if anybody wants to play the Colts. Andrew Luck, when he is healthy, he has a way to just put a team on his shoulders, and they could go. They could go a little ways here. They play the Texans in the first round. I had the Colts winning on Sunday. Don't sleep on Indianapolis, Doug. I think the Colts could be a team that's going to make some noise.
I agree, I knew the Colts were going to win, and I'm even picking them next week.
Okay, yeah, we'll do our first round of the playoff picks tomorrow, but of course, make sure you get your picks in at WCTCAM.com. We'll continue with our Pro Football Pick'em Challenge right on through the playoffs as well, playing for that fantastic remote control vehicle, that car. I did put a video up on Facebook that Doug had sent me. You can kind of check out the car and see the prize that we're playing for, in addition to the free meal, of course, probably courtesy of me. But we've got another month to go, and this is going to be a lot of fun, that's for sure. Doug Wells, thank you as always. Happy New Year, my friend, and looking forward to sharing our picks in the NFL playoffs, which begin this weekend. So thank you.
You got it. Thank you very much. Have a great day.